Toyota Tacoma 3rd generation cold air intake replacement. Well, good afternoon everybody, and welcome back to RobMotive. Real quick, before we get going, if you haven't before, smash that subscribe button and click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. Today, I'm going to be replacing the stock cold air intake on my Toyota Tacoma, a 3rd generation 2021 Toyota Tacoma with the S&B cold air intake. So first step is disconnect the battery. They say in the instructions that S&B provided, which I do have right there, even though I'm not really going to use them, but they say to disconnect the battery for 2 hours so that you don't have any problems with the MAV sensor, you know, check engine lights, that kind of stuff. So we've got it removed. Next is to take off the existing cold air intake. It's pretty simple. Remove the engine cover. There's a vacuum line right back here. Of course, you have to unplug the MAV sensor, and then remove the connectors here that hold it on to the existing cold air intake. Pop the lid, pull the filter out, and there are 2 bolts down below. You remove those. Loosen the clamp off of the throttle body under here. I'll show you that. And then you just pull it out. So we're going to do that next. Okay, first thing of course is to remove the engine cover. It's pretty simple. It's just held on by a couple prongs and then it pulls right off like that. Pretty easy. Next up, we're going to go ahead and remove the 2 wires, if you will, or rather the MAF sensor wire and then the vacuum tube. The vacuum tube just has one of these compression kind of springs, if you will. You squeeze them in and pull it off. Might actually be able to do that by hand. Let's see. It's not on there very tight. I don't know if I can pull it off by hand though. Probably not. Yeah, I gotta use a screwdriver or something in between just to coax it a little bit. Let's see here. Gently, of course. Just pull. There. It's on there, but it's not so tight you can't get it. Then the MAF sensor should just have a little push-in side on it, on this inside edge here. So we're going to see if we can't pull that off again gently. There. Just squeezes in from the back. And then there's a holder on the intake itself that should, famous last words, should just flip up, kind of opens up if you will, and then the top pulls right off. Pretty simple to do. That frees it on this edge. And then on the back, they actually have it zip tied on there. It's kind of weird. You'd think it'd be something a little more robust than that, but it's zip tied, so we have to cut the zip tie. I'll do that, and then that will free all the wiring. We can get to unscrewing it from the throttle body. Okay, I did cut the zip tie off the back. That's not enough. It's actually held on by a little holder that has a squeeze kind of thing that pushes through, so we'll get that off in a minute when I can tilt the whole cover up. So, in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and take it off of the throttle body. That just is a 10mm socket to loosen this bolt up here, screw. Don't want to take it all the way off, and it's really, as everything else typically is, not on there very tightly. I did go ahead and unhinge the cover over here, so we should be able to just pull it this way a little bit, and then we can deal with that wire, the MAF sensor wire on the back. So, let's see if we can't pull this off there. Now, we should be able to loosen or pull off that little clip. There's a little clip on the back. I know you can't see it, but you certainly will if you do this yourself. Just squeeze it with a pair of pliers or a needle nose to kind of force it through there. Should be pretty easy. There. So you just squeeze it a little bit and it pushes right through. That allows us to take the cover off. That removes the lid, if you will. Now that we've got that part out of the way, go ahead and remove the filter. Looks in pretty good shape, I think. And then there are two 12 millimeter bolts right down here, one over here and one over there. You need to remove those, and that will allow us to remove the box. There is one more right over here on the corner. So there are 3 bolts you have to remove, all 12 millimeter. We do have the little collar in here too, just to be aware. You might get a little resistance there. Not too bad. And this is the famous little inlet, if you will. This comes off. Not sure we're going to use that. I don't think so, nor do I think we'll use that 3rd bolt. But we'll see when we get the new one placed. Real quick, I'll show you where those bolt holes were. Right here is the one in the back I was talking about, and then of course the 2 inside that we removed. So now we need to transfer the MAF sensor. The most important part, as far as not having check engine lights or anything, so you want to make sure it's on the same way. And I believe with the S&B cold air intake, there's only one way you can put the MAF sensor on. You can see how it's on the existing. This is the OEM. And we're going to transfer it right over here, and it comes with screws, so you want to make sure you hold on to the screws that came with it, so that if you ever want to put the original back on, you'll have the screws. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those, and then we'll place the MAV sensor in here and then move on to the next part. We've got the MAV sensor relocated. There's really only one way this thing can go, and that's what I like about the S&B. It's only one direction. On some of the other ones, you rotate it in and it's held in by just a collar, if you will, not screwed like this. Much better design, I think, and again, you really can't screw this up. It only fits one way, unless you rotate it around and you have the top where the sensor plugs in some wacky way. But that's really the only way you can do it. One thing you want to note, there is a collar that goes over this side over here. You want to make sure you put that on. It just butts up against the fender, if you will. That is to bring air in through the fender. You will reuse the bolts, by the way, that it came with, so you want to make sure that you hold on to those because you are going to need them. So we'll get it placed in here how it's supposed to go, and then I'll bolt it back down, and then we'll tighten up the tubing here on the throttle body. And then it's basically putting the filter in and a couple more quick little steps. But let me go ahead and get this bolted in, and then we'll come back. All right, got everything laid out inside. I did go ahead and tighten the box down, and there are the 3 bolts that you have to put in. So on this cold air intake, the back bolt is inside the box as opposed to outside like on the OEM. So what I've done, I've tightened down loosely but firmly the collar, and a little tip for you, put the collar on the throttle body and then feed the tube into it from the other side, make it much easier to do. Now I just have to put the filter in, and I would put the filter in before you actually tighten everything down in the front, because there is a little bit of play inside the box here, so you want to make sure you have enough room to get your filter in there properly, and then you can finish or final adjust the tube into the throttle body and tighten down the clamps. We've got everything tightened down, so lastly we need to connect the vacuum hose from the back. That should just push on. Pretty simple, really. Push that on there, and then we'll pull that little pressure clamp, if you will, forward. Doesn't really do a whole lot. It's just to keep it from sliding off of there. Lastly, we're going to connect the MAV sensor. It should just plug right back in. And remember, you have the little push thing on the top. You want to get it the right way, of course. You heard the click, that's it. And it's just going to be kind of free-flowing in there, if you will. I could zip tie the clamp on the back down, I suppose. I may do that, but it's really not going anywhere. I just don't like it flapping around so much. So I may zip tie it. There's a hose or a tube back here I could zip tie to, so I may do that. So, and then lastly, I guess, is to go ahead and put the cover on, and then we'll be finished. All right, we've got everything in here. We have the lid on. We have a big hole here. We're going to deal with that in just a second. I'll get to that. But one thing I noticed, it's kind of like a musical instrument. You can kind of play a little tune on here. Anyway, you have two covers over here you can use. You can block it off with this one, or you can put this one on. The only problem is it extends over some of the fluids down here. So you wanna, I mean, it does pop right out, so it's not like it's in there permanently, it's just held in via pressure. Now, it kind of depends on how much airflow you want. Obviously, if you leave this open, or put the longer one on it, you're going to be sucking some hot air in, whereas over here you're going to be pulling it in just from the fender area itself. So we're going to try it both ways. I'll probably shoot a separate video on whether it makes a difference or not as far as sound goes. But I think for now, I probably am going to go ahead and put the extension on, and we'll just store this for later. There you go, the finished product. I love the look of this. It's going to be interesting to see if it makes any difference as far as sound goes on this truck. It did not, at least it didn't seem to me on my 2020. So we'll find out. Also, fuel economy, is it going to be any better? I kind of doubt it, but hey, you never know. And then of course, the extension that I put on, I will test it later on in a different video to see if this makes any difference for sound. Anyway, that is the install. The Toyota Tacoma cold air intake replacement on the 3rd generation Tacoma. It's pretty easy to do, and the S&B gotta be one of the easiest ones to do as well. They have it down. I really like their setup. Leave a comment, let me know. What do you think? Appearance-wise, aesthetics. I'd be curious to know. Also, real quick, if you didn't in the beginning, make sure you smash that subscribe button and click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. I do have 2 additional channels, RobMotiveFST, all about full-size trucks, and RobMotiveJT, all about the Jeep Gladiator. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.